Seth is in Philly, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Seth, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
What's up, Matt? What's up, doggy? How you doing today?
Hello, Seth. Nice to talk to you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
I wanted to get into this Philly thing for a minute because I grew up here my whole life. I'm a diehard Philly sports fan. Believe it or not, and I know that the Eagles do have a very large presence. They're my favorite team, but when you look back at the past couple of years, that Utley, Rollins, Howard, Phillies team that won the World Series that got Halladay, they really took over this town. And Philadelphia actually at that point was a baseball town. And they actually, at the time, they had the longest National League sellout streak in Major League Baseball. I mean, you couldn't get tickets to a Phillies game then. And so, listen, the Eagles obviously are the biggest team, but to say that all the other sports are that much lower.
Well, how about the 76ers?
Okay, I did research on that a little bit because I was confused by that. And 82-83 Sixers were second in the NBA in attendance. They were second in the NBA in attendance that year. So
how would you answer 6,000 for a playoff game against the Bucks with Julius Erving?
All I know is they were second in the NBA.
All right, fair. I mean, that doesn't mean much then. But how do you analyze Game 7 in April, 6,000 against the Bucks?
I would have been there. I would have been there, dog. I love the Sixers.
But you'd agree that is a black eye. You would agree with that.
You know what? It's funny because you were the only radio host. I mean, I love you, dog. I listen to you every day. I don't even listen to the Philly stations as much. I've never heard that before you brought that up. Now, listen, that doesn't mean that is somewhat of a black eye, and I do feel bad for the Sixers from that perspective because I love Dr. J. But as far as the Eagles in comparison to the other teams, you got to I lived in Philly. That was before I moved to the suburbs. Like I actually lived in town. Everybody was wearing red. I mean, they loved that Philly.
Well, but that's a fair one. Let's do it this way. Give me. And right now it'll be a little skewed. Let's do the top from a fan standpoint. Give me a top 5 Philadelphia sports fan hero deal in your city. Who would the top 5 be right now?
Well, it's definitely changed now with Foles. I mean, and this team because this team did something. I mean, unbelievable. The idea that they won the Super Bowl with a backup.
Let's forget January.
All right, fine. I'll give you sort of a broad one. You would have to put Utley on there. Honestly, you have to put Chase Utley on there.
How about Mike Schmidt? How about Schmidt?
Schmidt. See, people for some reason, doggy, and this is media, and I live in this city. Always love Utley, but they give Smith grief. I don't know if he was bad with the media here or what. They give Schmidt a lot of grief. I don't know why. Now, I love Schmitty, but they give him a lot of grief.
All right, so I'll do your list. Who's your top 5? Utley's in there. Who else?
Well, for me...
Bobby Clark? You want to put Bobby Clark in there?
You got to put Bobby on there, and I would put probably Reggie White on there, even though he won a Super Bowl with the Packers.
All right, that's 3. Who are the 2 others?
Reggie White on there.
Well, 2 others.
Iverson.
You're going to put Iverson top 5? You're going to put Iverson top 5 last 30 years in Philadelphia sports?
I bet if you asked anybody, doggy, who they would put in their top 5, a majority of them would say Iverson.
I'm surprised. Who's the 5th?
The 5th? Well, I guess at this point you would probably have to say... you'd probably have to say maybe Dawkins. Brian Dawkins, 100%. Dawkins. People love Dawkins in this town. He's another guy. He's like Utley. He could do no wrong. He's a hero in this town.
I don't even think he's I was surprised he made the Hall of Fame. I never thought he was a Hall of Famer.
I was at that parade yesterday. He was on the float. He was there.
All right, so your top 5 in your lifetime, Seth, are Dawkins, Utley, Clark, White, and Iverson.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't around for Bobby Clark. That was a little before I was born. So for me, from a Flyer perspective, you'd probably have to go Lindros, or you may even have to go, somebody like a Leclerc or something like that, because that Legion of Doom team was when I was growing up.
Okay, how about historically though? Let's look at it historically.
I mean, you got to go. I mean,
you want to put Bernie Perron in there historically?
Nah, I'd probably put Clark in there.
All right, you put Clark in there historically. You want to put Julius Erving in there historically?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so you put Dr. J. You want to put Chuck Bednarik in there historically?
Yeah, I think you put Bednarik in there. I think that there's a certain level of gratitude you put for Wilbert too. He beat Dallas in the NFC Championship.
That's a good one, Montgomery. All right, I don't know if you put him that high. So
maybe not, but you put Dawkins above him. And then now, listen, I think honestly, and this is just me as a fan, I think Wentz is going to be there at some point. I mean, the kid's unbelievable. I mean, I think at some point Wentz will take over as easily top 5.
I agree with that. Now, the other issue I'd have, what is your explanation, Seth, for the fans booing the Eagles off the field at halftime on Christmas night?
All right. Now, we talked about this earlier because I actually called you in the middle of the playoffs, and we had an argument about the Minnesota game a little bit. What I would say is, and listen, I was at the parade yesterday. That parade had literally joy. I've lived here my whole life. There was an air of joy that I have never felt in my whole life. It was like a huge weight had been lifted off everybody's shoulders. People were hugging strangers and everything. The idea that the fans booed on Christmas night, to me at least, now you could have a different opinion, was overblown. Every city has fans that
your team was 13-2 in first place.
First of all, they booed the team because they weren't doing anything.
Oh, come on. You're not allowed. They had the quarterback was out. They were 12-2. The game basically didn't mean anything, and they got booed off the field. Now, you can't just excuse that.
I can't excuse that, but I will tell you this, just from an outsider's perspective. I grew up going to New York. My other half of my family's New Yorkers. I've been to Met games before, New York Met games, where I've seen them get booed, like destroyed, middle of the season, mid-July.
Well, that's a little different now, Seth. Your team was 12-2, first place, home field, new quarterback, and booed off the field against the Raiders Christmas. I saw it, Christmas night. That was a little strong, would you say? Jeff in Rhode Island. Good call, though. Jeff in Rhode Island, he's aboard here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Jeff, good afternoon. How are you today?
Doing good, Mad Dog. Thanks for taking the call.
You got it, Jeff. Thank you. What's on your mind now? Fire away. Let me hear.
Well, I got 2 points, and one is baseball. I finally got my chance to chat with you, and you're my baseball guy, so I got to bounce something off of you. But on your first, we were just talking about the Olympics. I agree with you, and I would love to be in it this year as much as I possibly could, especially for hockey, because at 30 years old, I've never seen anything close to the Miracle on Ice, and it's a moment that I'm sure you and anyone who's a historian of sport can look and say, I know where I was when the U.S.
Yeah, I've always said this. I'm going to say it again. The problem with the Miracle on Ice for me is that was a tape delay game against Russia. The game was played at 4:30 in the afternoon. It was shown at night. And Jim McKay came on the air at 7:30 with a bunch of Americans with the American flag. You knew they ruined it. If you wanted to not know the score, they ruined it for you because the whole world knew that the United States had won the game. That always bothered it for me. I'm more into the Finland game, which won the gold medal, than the Russian game 2 nights before that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And especially with social media now, especially where they have these Olympics. I mean, you can just sit on your phone during the day. You're going to find out who won. So I agree with you. But on the baseball point, obviously being a Red Sox fan, JD Martinez still not signed, and that's one that we thought would probably happen pretty early. Do you think that with everything going on with Scott Boras fighting back, is this kind of an owner's pushback where they finally had enough of the Boras team there, where they say, we like a guy for $100 million, but we're going to wait it out for 150, because there's a lot of top free agents, dog, that are still out there, and I have to wonder if there's owners that are finally saying we can't keep getting pushed around by Boras.
I don't think Boras. I don't think it's Boras. I don't think he's got a lot of the big clients, but I think the free agent class is a spotty class. JD Martinez is not a great player. Arrieta is not a great pitcher. Darvish is not a great pitcher. Hosmer is not a great player. So you have a lot of pretty good players represented by a guy who wants to make you think that they're great players. And the owners now have gotten smarter not to overpay for pretty good players. I think that's got a lot to do with it. Next year, with Machado, Donaldson, Harper, it would be a different situation. Those players would get $400 million. This year, J.D. Martinez is a so-so outfielder. He has not been durable. He's not 22, and he's not a great player. Good player, power, big year, but not a great player. Hosmer is a 20-homer, 80 RBI, 90 RBI, 290 hitting first baseman. Good to have on your ball club. Good guy to have on your team. He's a champion, but he's not a great player. You know, he's sort of a latter-day Keith Hernandez and not as good. Those guys, the owners have gotten smart, and they're not going to go crazy and give them a ton of money. That's got a lot to do with it here. Patrick is in PA. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Patrick, good afternoon. Your turn. How are you today?
Hey, Christopher. How are you?
Hello, Patrick. Nice to talk to you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
Hey, I got a couple nuggets for you for Super Bowls. You probably know them, but the one is after the Eagles won that Super Bowl, the NFC East is now the first division in football.
All four teams
winning a Super Bowl.
I did not. You know, that's a good point. I did not know. If you think about it, it's easy. Minnesota hasn't won a Super Bowl. The Bills have not won a Super Bowl. It's easy, so that's fair. That's a good little nugget. What else? All four teams.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you probably know better than me, but I think the NFC East has won 13, and the next highest of any division has won 8. Is that right?
Yes. Baltimore and Pittsburgh have 6 and 2. That would be 8. The NFC West, the Niners have 6. The Rams have 1. That's 7. Seattle has 1. That is 8. Arizona's not won one. I think you're right. I think it's by far the most. Now, remember, these 4 teams, Patrick, are longtime teams. They've been around forever, so they were around in 1966. The Chargers were not. So they have an advantage there, but it's a very good one. What other nugget you got for me? Let me hear.
Well, that's about it. I'm a big Pirate fan. I'm not a Steeler fan. I'm a Cowboy fan, but I'm a big Pirate fan. What is you gave the how much Tampa Bay was going to get there for TV? What's a Pirate? Do you know what that is?
I can look that up. I don't know what the Pirates. It's not 300. It's not 390 million like the Dodgers. I can tell you that. Good point. Excellent thought. Todd is in North Carolina. Mad Dog Unleashed. Todd, welcome. How are you today, pal?
Hey, Donald. Thanks for having me.
You got it, Todd. Thank you. Now, let me hear.
I was going to say I agree with you about the Olympics turning into more of a show instead of an athletic event. Let me go ahead and preface this by saying anybody who competes at that level, I can appreciate the athleticism, but I'm kind of close to your age, so the only appeal that the Winter Olympics have to me, and it would be during channel surfing, would be the events that like the downhills, the jumps. I grew up in an era of the wild water sports with the agony of defeat and watching, I guess it was Franz Klammer, go down the downhill right on the edge of being out of control. So that's the only appeal to me are the ones, the events that you're either going to win big or lose big, and just interested on your thoughts.
I think you hit it right on the head. There are 3 or 4 events that if I was channel surfing, I'd stay with. The problem with the Winter Olympics and the problem with the way they do it right now is I am not going to make it appointment television. I am not going to sit there and say, I must watch this. When is it on? Let's find it. For a variety of reasons. The time difference, the way NBC does it, the family viewing scenario, no big opponent a la Russia. I won't even do that too much with the Summer Olympics. I might be a little more inclined with the track and field, with the 100-yard dash and things. I might be a little bit more involved in doing that. But the issue I have with the Winter Olympics, I may have in a gold medal hockey game, but right now, like U.S. and Canada in Vancouver, right now, there is nothing in the next 17 days where I'm going to sit there and say to myself, I must get to a television set to watch this. There is not one thing on there that I would do that. And in the old days, I might. No longer. We have an update? Oh, Tori's coming momentarily. All right. And until we see him, here's Peter in Pittsburgh, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Peter, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Good, Mad Dog. How are you?
Hello, Pete. Nice to talk. What's on your mind now?
Philly transplant, live in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Defending my hometown.
Go ahead. Let me hear it.
The number you have of the attendance is wrong.
No, it's not.
I don't know where you are getting that.
Go look it up.
Wrong.
Go look it up. It's April 19th, 1981. The game was at the Spectrum. It was Game 7. The Bucks in Philadelphia, 99-98. I thought it was 5,800. I was wrong by 1,000. We looked it up yesterday to confirm. It was 6,700. That is fact.
I looked it up on Basketball Reference.
No, Basketball Reference is wrong. I'm telling you, it's 67. We looked at the box score. 6,700.
15,000. 15,000.
No. You got the wrong game.
Yes,
you got the wrong game. What year did you have? What year did you look it up?
80. They had 2 Game 7s against Milwaukee in like 82 and 83.
This is 81. April of 81, not the 82 season. April of 1981. Look it up. April 19th.
It's wrong. You're wrong.
I'm not wrong. But go ahead. What else you want to say? Fire away.
All right. Did you get to see Kelsey's speech?
I did not. Fire away. Let me hear about it. Go ahead.
Well, I found it to be. It was a current day I have a dream speech. It moved me. I mean, and you talk about how us in Philadelphia only like the Eagles. They're third on my list behind the Sixers and the Phillies. So I think you're sort of lumping us all into one group. There are knuckle draggers at those games. It's all men, and they're all drunk, and they act like idiots. But they do it in many other cities, too. Your hometown as well.
Well, again, that might be true. No, every fan can act like an idiot. I did not hear the speech. You know what these speeches are? At these championship gatherings for the teams that win, they're great speeches for the fans of that team. The rest of America, I was in an Aubrey Huff speech in 2010.
Well, that's the way it should be. I mean,
And nobody else cares. And I'm not going to get wrapped up on Jason Kelsey's speech. I know he said a lot of bad words at the end. Did you see it?
I didn't see it live. I heard it. By the way, I'm looking at the attendance. Game 7, conference semifinals, 1981. Sixers win by a point, 99-98. Attendance, 6,704.
You think I get that wrong?
And that's the doggy you're talking to right now.
Come on now.
Come on. I'm looking at it.
Nice job by Jim Bell. We have Steve Torrey here on Mad Dog Unleashed.